Judge.
Eugene, Judge.
Yep, he's Cooperstown, is where he's at, Greggstown, New Rockford, that area, that district.
Call to order. Welcome everybody. Grand Forks City Council meeting, Monday, March 15th, 2021. Roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel.
Here.
Dockler. Dockler, are you on?
Yep, here.
Yep. Weber.
Here.
Mock. Here. Kavami.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
And Bean. Here. We have a quorum.
1.2, Pledge Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor's announcements. Got a few announcements. First, I want to thank everybody, a few members in this room as well. We had at least one of the largest groups in recent history with 50 people that were out there in Bismarck as part of the Team Grand Forks delegation. I thought it was a pretty successful trip. We got to meet with the Commerce Department, the DOT, Chancellor of NDUS, Chancellor Hagerat and his team, General Dorman, Bank of North Dakota, and Governor Burgum. So I want to also give a shout of thanks to all the departments in the state that took time to show up and to entertain us. And a special thanks to Governor Burgum for having a nice and engaging sort of capstone for us, and we all left more energized than we got there. At least that's the way I felt. So thank you everybody for that. We've got Wednesday night will be the State of the City, my first one, so that'll be nerve-wracking and interesting, but I'm excited for that. On the sports front, I think we got a pretty exciting week here in Grand Forks. We've got the NCHC semifinal tonight, so if we get out of here by 8 o'clock, I might head over there. And then UND's got the big football matchup next week, and I see we got Anna Rosberg in attendance here tonight. So the week after, we've got the next game at home, so that'll be pretty exciting if we can manage to pull off Saturday's win. And that's all I got for Mayor's announcements. So we'll move on to 2. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is 2020 Alaris Center Annual Report Presentation.
All right, I'm going to hand this one over to Ken Veen. He's our Event Center Alaris Commission council member. So with that, why don't you make the introduction, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. At the February Alaris board meeting, the 2020 annual report was presented, and I felt, that it was really an amazing report. In light of an industry that focuses on bringing people and events together, the 2020 with COVID could have been a total disaster. And I think instead those financial losses were kept in check due to the great leadership and great creativity. I think that was a big reason for that. But I think that credit needs to go to Anna and her staff that went above and beyond. The leadership of the Alaris Commission, as you will see, but also to you, Mayor, Todd, Maureen, and city staff for how you work together with the commission and help make this year successful in many, many ways. So I ask that Anna come to present here at the city council meeting so that the council members may see it and the public would have an idea of what we've all seen and accomplished. So Anna, could you do that?
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm sorry that our commission chair, Pat McLean, can't be here this evening, but I will try to give you a short overview of 2020 and what that looked like for us. As you know, the mission of the Alaris Center is to provide premier entertainment and events that stimulate economic impact and improve the quality of life for Grand Forks area citizens. Obviously, COVID really threw a wrench in what our normal plan is. In 2020, we were on track to have a record year. The first few months were going very, very well. Our ticketed event load, being concerts primarily, was on track to be the best it's ever been, so we were really proud of that. And then the pandemic hit. But it was really important for us to continue to innovate and create events. We didn't want to take that as the opportunity to be defeated. It was really important that we focus on serving that mission and the community impact in a different way. The way that we did that in a few different items was through being the only facility that was hosting voting for the presidential election, testing through our partnership with Alltrue, and the vaccination clinics with our partnership with public health. So a lot of essential services that would probably have struggled to take place had we not had the beautiful Alaris Center to be able to put those in. It was really important for us this year to work on taking this time to be strategic. A lot of our facility projects, as you see here, I'll just kind of skim through what you guys have in front of you on the annual report, how we could capitalize on this time that we're not hosting our normal event load, and improve the facility. So now University of North Dakota has an NFL quality and safer playing surface for the Fighting Hawks, and they're doing very well now in their first season in the Missouri Valley Conference. So we're hopeful that we'll end up with a playoff game if all goes well. We utilized our corporate resources through Spectra. There was a task force that was put together at the beginning of the pandemic and a reopening plan, which really was important for us so that when we opened back to events, which we did shortly after the national shutdown, that we did those in the right way. So you'll see here our partnerships. I'll call that out specifically. Alaris Financial renewed their naming rights for another 10 years of the facility. Really amazing that they did that in the middle of a pandemic, especially with an industry like ours. So great that Grand Forks businesses really stepped up through partnerships, and they did that a year early, so we were really proud of that. Hugo's debuted as our turf sponsor on the new turf, and that turf I think we've talked about here before, but just as a reminder, we now have a permanent turf system which will allow us to convert quicker and open up more dates in the calendar to drive revenue and events in the future. So they were an integral partner in that project. We also unveiled a sensory room. That was really exciting. So again, just trying to make sure that we're doing things that allow the Alaris Center to provide that economic impact first and foremost, but also really enhance the quality of life and the guest experience. We want every guest that comes in to feel very welcome. And this is actually the first of its kind in the region. It's a Culture City certified sensory room. So if somebody has PTSD or they have a child that has a sensory processing disorder, it's a safe space that's open for every event. And it was actually curated with the experts at Alltrue, so we're really proud of that. Our arena overview, we actually did 11 ticketed events before the pandemic hit. KISS was the biggest one. I know you've been briefed before here at this group with Mark Schill from the Praxis group and have been obviously privy to the work of the market capture group, and we've seen the stats, most of us have seen the stats that night on KISS, it was actually 2.5 times the normal hotel traffic for the region. So we're really proud of that. I think it directly shows what the Alaris Center does for our local economy. This is also a fun stat. We actually set 28 chairs per minute and had to strike 99 chairs per minute to turn that around for our next event, and that was not a lot of fun, but really impressive on our team's part. So we're proud of that one. Let me see if there's a few other items that I want to highlight for you. We've been really involved with the Department of Commerce Large Venue Working Group to help guide the North Dakota Smart Restart guidelines coming out of the pandemic. That was very important to us to be a good partner and work together, because our belief is that if we're doing events well in Grand Forks, we want to share that knowledge across the region, because we'll all be better if we're sharing that intel. So what maybe would have been a competitor in the past really became an ally this year, so I think that was very unique. We actually also were very involved with the local venue committee, so the Ralph Engelstad Arena, Public Health, the city, the county, and the Alaris Center and UND Athletics have worked together to make sure that when those UND Athletics events resumed, we were doing that in a way that we were all aligned. And so we're really proud of the work there. On the conference center side, this is a highlight of our Grand Forks Senior Center Thanksgiving and Christmas drive-through. So normally, the Alaris Center does the 3 major holidays and provides 600 to 800 meals in our ballrooms. Knowing that this was a vulnerable population at the time of Easter last year, we thought, okay, that one's gone, but how can we save these in the future for Thanksgiving and Christmas? And our sales team, who doesn't typically take no for an answer, really was creative and figured out how we could do this drive-through style. and our food and beverage team executed getting out 600 meals in 60 minutes. So the picture in the middle there is actually from the roof of the Alara Center. We had a long line of cars. So most of our events this year, instead of having a large staff in the building, changed to, and banquet servers and people that are serving those meals turned into parking attendants outside. So just a creative example that we did this year. And we did 224 events since the pandemic hit, so that's more than many venues do in a year. So we're really proud of that number. We really went above and beyond with our COVID brides that had a lot of curveballs thrown at them this year. So providing good customer experience was really important to us. And then in this report, as you thumb through it, you'll see a lot of different creative events that we created through our Spectra network. The home concert series, that one our staff actually came up with on their own, and provided a way to tie in local restaurants, try to drive the hospitality tax, and create an at-home safe concert where we're supporting local musicians and local restaurants. So that one was really great. We did that shortly after everybody went home. And then working with Spectra to get our ability to get ourselves in the door for some of the drive-in concerts and movies and that sort of thing. So that was really important. But again, really just trying to emphasize the mission of the facility, the essential services, and the quality of life, and doing so in a way that was COVID-friendly, but not just throwing in the towel and saying, oh, better luck next year. So that was really important to us. Lots of different upgrades. So when you look through these COVID pages, we hope that you'll look at those with pride in what the facility and our team was able to accomplish as opposed to, being a pandemic year. And I think that is really kind of the main points, unless there are questions. We continue to work, through our season of giving and really drive that, but I'm sure you're interested in the bottom line. So this is an unaudited number that I will share with you. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing bi-weekly financial projections, and we were looking at a loss of over $2 million for the facility bottom line, which is, of course, a terrifying number. And so we made a lot of really critical decisions at the beginning of the pandemic as far as staff furloughs, some difficult decisions, and making sure that we were reprioritizing our capital strategies to save as much as we could and be good stewards of the funds. The final bottom line, again, unaudited, is around $792,000. And that's largely in thanks to the great partnership between the City of Grand Forks, All-True, and making sure that we're able to provide those essential services through CARES funding and public health. So we're really proud of that. And then this is the direct spend. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is gracious to us, and we're grateful for them, that they always track our events when we provide them the information. So in 2020, normally we do about 30 events that we track on an annual basis. This year we only tracked 13 because of the pandemic, but that was a direct spend of $3.2 million back into the economy, and that's without a multiplier. So if you think about a loss of $792,000, versus what it could have been, versus what the facility was able to return into the community, that's a really important number to us. And then just some more of the market capture data is within this document for you. And the final event number was 323 events that we were able to execute in the year 2020. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that, I got to see firsthand what a phenomenal job, not only minimizing the loss, but setting up the Alara Center to be in a great place going into the future. So I think it doesn't always show up on the bottom line, but your team and the commission did a great job. So thankful for that.
And one last comment, I think the whole community came together too, because even your suite rentals, you were able to continue all the rentals even in the midst of the pandemic. I think that speaks a lot too.
Yeah, the suites are actually on a waiting list now for the first time ever. They were sold for the first time ever in 2020, and somehow we've actually been able to kind of increase on partnerships. So I think that's a testament to our community and our local Grand Forks businesses, and we're thankful for that. But obviously can't do this without our team, and I would agree we have a very great staff over there, and we're very fortunate. So.
I did have one question though. How did you manage to get that football team to be undefeated so far?
I'd like to think it's the turf, right? No, they've been doing such a great job. So that's going to be really important going forward in the Missouri Valley Conference, if we can have some playoff games every year and really just be supportive to Coach Bubba and the team. And I think the better surface helps, hopefully. But yeah, we're thankful for that. So thank you so much.
Any other comments from Ms. Rosberg? Anybody online? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if you're ready to move on, Mayor? Okay, 2.2 Legislative Committee Update.
Mr. Bernstrom.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. It's a pretty busy week regarding testimony coming from the city of Grand Forks in Bismarck this week. Testimony today was provided by the city attorney's office on House Bill 1130. That is the bill regarding municipal court rulings. And we got a report back from Senator Bakke that came out of committee with a due pass, and she's not expecting any concern on the Senate floor, and we provided testimony in support. On Wednesday, Mayor, you were providing testimony for the neighborhood zones bill. That's Senate Bill 2139. That'll be Wednesday. On Thursday, then we have 3 bills later in the week we're providing testimony in opposition to. 1457 is one of those limiting emergency power type bills. There's quite a few of those at the legislature this year. 1165 is a bill we've seen I think 3 sessions in a row now, Todd. That is the qualified electors in a local election, allowing those that live in an ET zone to vote in a city election. We're providing testimony in opposition to that. In turn, we have representation of the ET zone on our Planning and Zoning Commission. And then House Bill 1222, that is the non-conforming structures bill, and we will continue with testimony in opposition to that bill. So those are the bills this week we're providing testimony for. And again, we find out at the end of this week what our schedule will be for next week. So if there's any questions or any comments from, we have our co-chairs, Mr. Weber and Mr. Veen, regarding any of the legislative topics.
I have nothing.
Yeah, please.
No.
None? Okay, Mr. Weber, do you have any comments, sir?
Nice update. Thanks, John.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Shortest one yet, thanks.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
All right, moving on, 2.3.
2.3 COVID-19 Vaccination and Dashboard Update.
All right, looks like Mr. Duetz, I'll make a couple comments and get you up there. We're moving along well in the vaccine front. We should be at general public within the next couple of weeks, which is great. And now 21 days in the green, which is good to see. I think we're almost at 16% now of fully vaccinated amongst the eligible in Grand Forks County. And one sort of big news that will get out there is we are going to transition here probably at the beginning of April, decentralizing the vaccines again. I think we had to sort of balance the accessibility, which I think will increase as we expand with sort of the ease and the simplicity that we had with the centralized practice. So I think in balancing those, it's going to be time at the beginning of April to go back to more of a decentralized plan with more times and more available locations. So that'll be something to look forward to. Mr. Duetz, you're ready.
Mayor Boczynski and members of the council, I'm Michael Duetz with Grand Forks Public Health, and here to do a dashboard update. So overall, the dashboard does look quite good. As the mayor mentioned, we are now at our 21st day of being in the green on the dashboard. Late last week, we had a slight increase in the number of cases, so we bottomed out right around 6, and now we're back up to 8. But again, that's a very slight change. Our testing still remains relatively high, which gives us a lot of confidence in our data. Our percent positivity is still staying low, and that percent change was related to that slight increase in the number of cases late last week, since it's a week-over-week average. Looking at cases compared to our peer communities, Grand Forks is remaining relatively low compared to our peers, only being beat by the Burley-Morton area, but we've avoided a lot of the increases that places like Cass County, Ward County have seen. As the mayor had mentioned, we are at close to 16% of our population having full coverage for vaccination. So that's either 2 doses of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine or 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We gave our first doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at the Grand Forks Public Health All True Collaboration vaccine event this past weekend, and those worked quite well, and we were surprised with some extra angel doses as well. We have reached about a quarter of the population of Grand Forks County with at least 1 dose of vaccine, so that leaves us about 30,000 people short of getting full coverage for us to be at that 60% threshold. As Grand Forks compares to other communities, we are still ahead of our peer communities in overall 2-dose vaccine coverage and 2-dose or full vaccine coverage. So that could be the 2-dose or single-dose Pfizer. So we are just short of 16%, which is still roughly 2% ahead of anybody else. Looking at our subgroups, our major subgroups of interest, the 65 to 74 age group has really stood out as being an age group that it seems that we've really been very good at reaching. So about 83% have had at least one dose of vaccine, which is a full 10% higher from our next peer, which is Cass County. Looking at the 75-plus age group, we hit 79% in that age group as well. When we look at the age groups, particularly the older age groups, the higher the better. We want at least 74% to make sure that they're kind of filling out their part of the 60% needed for our community, knowing that people under the age of 16 can't get the vaccine right now. 18 to 64, it's a little bit slower there. Obviously, we've just gone into phase 1C, so this number should be going up in the near future, but we're at about 22% for Grand Forks County. Vaccine doses by week, so we kind of saw, the accumulating effect of that early extra allocation of vaccine that we got in early February. We got that extra allocation that kind of bumped us up towards late February, and now it's starting to go down again. If we continue with roughly 2,200 first doses we're getting per week, if we're able to get those 2,200 first doses into people's arms, we could expect to be done with first doses by the 5th of June. That's just assuming that everything stays the same, nice and efficient system. Hopefully we can keep up with that. The state has moved to kind of a baseline number of vaccines that they're giving each county per week, as well as the federal government has made allocations to Thrifty White Pharmacy as well as Spectra Health to help fill out some of the need for the county. And looking at our quest to 60%, so as you can see, the left graph is essentially the graph that I showed early on, looking at the number of people we need to reach 60% of our population, which is the number we're using for herd immunity tentatively. So right now we have 10,000 people vaccinated, 10,800 people vaccinated. We need just over 40,000, so there's 30,000 people that we need to fully vaccinate. Of the people that we've given at least the first dose to, we're still about 24,000 short of our goal of 60%. So we still need to reach 24,000 additional people with vaccine to get to our 60%. And we have a pool of about 38,000 people who are vaccine eligible, and that's vaccine eligible based on age greater than 16. So we still need a high number of people to take the vaccine. We have a lot of people still left to reach in the community. Our initial numbers look good, but it will get more and more difficult as we progress on to reach individuals. Moving on to a slightly different subject, I wanted to touch a little bit on the mobility data that Mark Schill has previously provided to the council. I don't pretend to be Mark Schill, but I did want to touch a little bit on this data and how it correlates to our case rates. So for Grand Forks County, we are seeing kind of a continuing of the number of the baseline of individuals staying home. This is a baseline compared to a 5-week time frame in the beginning of January 2020, and so this is the baseline since then. So people are still staying home. People are still not necessarily at work. The number of people, there's still a fair number of people who seem to be working from home. And most importantly, it does look like retail is down comparatively speaking. I compared this to 2 other counties. Pennington County, South Dakota, which is where Rapid City is. It's the closest community in South Dakota that I could find, to our size. And then, South Dakota had a lot more lax policies related to COVID, and then also Ward County. Of note, our case fatality rate in Grand Forks County was about 0.75%, so 0.77. Looking at Ward County, their case fatality rate is running about 2%. They saw some increases over the summer in their retail and recreation movement, over their baseline, and have started seeing an increase as of late with that movement into those retail and recreation activities based off of Google's data. They are, that said, they are still seeing similar rates of individuals being at home, in similar rates of people, like decreased amount of people being in the workplace. And then looking at Pennington County, South Dakota, it has Minnesota on there, but I meant to have South Dakota. Their case fatality rate runs about 1.45%, which is about double of what ours is. They saw significant increases in the retail and recreation area. That could be owed partially to their location in a tourist area, and they did see similar decreases in the residential and workplaces, but they're also seeing a steady increase in that retail and recreation area. So I would hope to see that going up in Grand Forks County in the near future as we show our increased vaccination and increased consumer confidence. And then my final slide, I just wanted to touch a little bit about case fatalities. Grand Forks, in the grand scheme of looking at our peer counties, our case fatality rate has still remained low. This has been something that I talked about early on, haven't really provided a good update to. So Grand Forks was about 0.75%. Something that kind of concerned me today when I was running numbers, Polk County is almost 2% for their case fatality rate, so the number of fatalities divided by the number of cases. Their number of fatalities is 65 compared to Grand Forks having 76. So that was a lot higher number than I was expecting. When we combine the two together, the dark blue line, it has us right around 1%. So for the metropolitan statistical area, Grand Forks County and Polk County, it is about 1%. So it's still on the lower level. Looking at other peer counties in the state, Ward County has seemed very odd in that their case fatality rate is almost 2%. They've had a lot of challenges all along in COVID, getting buy-in from the community, getting good testing, things like that. So I think that is kind of a reinforcement to some of the strategies that we have taken over time, and as well as some of the concern that the community has shown towards COVID. Looking at our bottom line, our numbers are still low. We're doing really good there, and our vaccine doses and vaccine dose opportunities are increasing. We still need more vaccine. I think everyone wishes we'd have more vaccine so we could get more vaccine into arms, get people more confident going out places. That said, there are some optimistic outlooks from the federal and state governments on vaccine, looking at towards the end of this month into early April, that we could get, see some really good vaccine allocations. And we're still seeing a lot of high demand with our Phase 1C appointments. Our vaccine events this week at the Alaris Center filled up on Wednesday for this week, and we would expect that to continue as we have a large waiting list. We still don't know about the potential impact of new COVID-19 variants. I was listening to Face the Nation yesterday, and Dr. Scott Gottlieb brought up the concern that they're seeing right now in the New York area related to a new variant there that's showing some potential resistance to vaccine. Again, that's one area, that's one variant, but that is something that I think the variants are going to start taking a lot more hold, and they are taking. We are seeing them in North Dakota as well, but not the specific New York variant. And then we still have a lot of people to reach to get to herd immunity. With that, I am open to any questions, and as always, I have additional slides attached.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Dulitz? Anybody online? All right, thank you as usual, Mr. Dulitz. All right, moving on. 3, public hearings and second reading of ordinances.
3.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance amending the zoning map of Southern Estates, PUD amendment number 16, replat of Lot C, Block 1, Edgewood Village re-subdivision, located at 1881 44th Avenue South.
Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing now. Public hearing is closed. Council, got a motion to approve from Mr. Sandy. Do we have a second? Second from Ms. Mock. We'll get you next time, Kyle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3.1 carries unanimously.
3.2, public hearing and second reading of ordinance amending Grand Forks City Code Section 9-0505 related to labor in lieu of fine.
All right, we'll open up public hearing again. Public hearing is closed. Council members, comments, action. Motion from approval from Councilmember Veen, second from Mr. Kavami. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3.2 carries unanimously.
3.3, public hearing on 2020 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, the CAPER.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on 3.3. Public hearing closed. Councilmember comments, motions. We've got a motion from Mr. Weber, motion to approve. Second from was that Mr. Weigel?
And it was.
All right, second from Mr. Weigel. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3.3 carries unanimously.
3.4 is public hearing on resolution and necessity and determination of protest on the following projects as listed. We have received no protests on any of these projects. A is project number 8318, district number 756. The next one, project 8282.1, district 754.1. C is project number 8282.2, district number 754.2. D is project number 8282.3, district number 754.3. E is project number 8282.4, district 754.4. F is project number 8282.5, district 754.5. G is project number 8312.1, district number 755.1. H is project number 8312.2, district number 755.2. And lastly, I is project number 8312.4, district number 755.4.
Thank you, Maureen. Do we have any public hearing on A through I? All right, public hearing is closed. Got a motion to approve from Council President Sandy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Veen. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3.4 carries unanimously. Thank you. 4, action items. I'm just going to pull 4.3. Otherwise, was there any other items that council members wanted to pull for discussion? Mr. Veen.
Thank you. I'm not necessarily pulling for discussion. I thought in the planning and zoning 4.23, 0.24, and 0.25 were very interesting developments that are happening out in the university area that aren't probably well identified in the public. And I don't know if we want to have them pulled. I have nothing against them. I mean, I'm supportive of them, but it's not very good knowledge base. I thought it would have been nice to have a little bit of a presentation on those.
Would you like Mr. Brooks to?
Yeah, if he wouldn't mind, let's do that on those 3.
That'd be 4.23, 4.24, and 4.25?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any others from council or staff? All right, let's go forward then on the consent agenda with 4.1, 4.2, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.10, 4.11, 4.12, 4.13, 4.14, 4.15, 4.16, 4.17, 4.18, 4.19, 4.20, and 4.21. And we've got final approval for 4.27 as well. So I'd be looking at a motion for those items. Motion to approve from Mr. Sandy. Have a second? Second from Mr. Weigel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those motions carry. 4.3, appointment to the library board. This was recommended to be tabled by council at the COW with the library board meeting on Wednesday. And for the purpose of expediency, I guess I'd like to see an up or down vote and not kick the can, but that's certainly to the discretion of council. So 4.3, appointment to the library board. I'll open it up to any discussion at this time. Mr. Sandy?
Mayor, I'll move we table till April 12th.
Got a motion from Mr. Sandy to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Dockler. Any further discussion before we vote? Oh, there can't be. That's no discussion, Mr. Quinn, we might as well get you involved since you're here today instead of Mr. Gostad.
Not on a motion to table. There's not
Okay.
supposed to be any discussion.
All right, well, we're going to keep doing this, coming up on, I guess there can't be discussion, but we're going to keep doing this, I guess, till it gets voted on. So we'll go to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think that was tough. Can I get, Maureen, could you just run down the roll call so I know what we got there?
Okay, roll call vote to table. Weigel?
No.
Dockler?
Yes.
Weber?
Aye.
What was that? Weber?
Yes,
Yes.
aye, please. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mock? Kavami?
Yes.
Veen?
Yes.
And Sandy?
Yes.
All right, motion to table till April 12th carries. Let's move on to introduction of ordinance. We won't need you for this one, Ryan. We'll just move through 4.22 first to introduce that ordinance. Let's do 4.22 and 4.26 to get those out of the way.
4.22, introduction of ordinance and preliminary approval of an amendment to the zoning map to include Memorial Village PUD Lot 2, Block 1, Memorial Stadium re-subdivision located at 2625 2nd Avenue North. And 4.26, introduction of ordinance and preliminary approval of an amendment, Chapter 18 Land Development Code B3 General Business District Zone to allow large animal clinic as a conditional use.
All right, do we have a motion? Got a motion for Mr. Veen, a second?
One second.
Second for Mr. Weber. Seeing no comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4.22 and 4.26 carry unanimously. Now we've got 4.23.
Introduction ordinance and preliminary approval of an amendment to the zoning map to include UND Wilkerson P3 Housing PUD unplatted parts, Grand Forks Township, 3500 block of University Avenue.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. I'll kind of handle each of these individually, if that's okay, Mayor, and then I can stand for any questions as I go. But just a brief example of some of the improvements going on the UND campus. West of the English Coulee, they're going to be on the north side of the university. The university is looking to improve the freshman dorm area there. There's 5 buildings, I believe, in that area, 6 buildings, and they're going to be tearing down a few. They're going to be setting some new buildings in place and improving 3 existing dorms. I think this is part of being competitive with other colleges and trying to increase the freshman dorms. There's a desire for larger suites and improved amenities in that area. So they're going to be doing some burying of some of those tunnels, making them a little bit lower, and then having some better outdoor space. So with that, those are some of the improvements that we're looking at, reducing some of the front setbacks because it actually, the line has kind of been set there, and kind of using the Wilkerson area, I don't know if you guys have been through there since they made those improvements about 5 years ago, I think. It's a fantastic eating establishment for the students there. So they're just looking to enhance the dorm activity now that they've already got the improvement there with the dining hall. So that's kind of the first one. And I'll stand for any questions on that one.
If I,
Yeah, Mr. V.
just what's the timeline for actually doing the work?
I hesitate to answer that because I just don't know where they're at. They've been, I believe they're looking at this summer with those, but I'd hesitate to answer that fully, and I know there's nobody here, but I can have that answer for you by final because this is preliminary tonight.
I think Mayor Bochansky, I think it'd be interesting, to Ken's point, maybe at what UND is trying to do. These are all, we'll call it P3s, public-private partnerships. Johnson Control is kind of the lead developer. and I'm sure they're going to end up with 50-year land leases. So this is really a unique model, similar to what they did, UND did with the steam plant with Johnson Controls. So I think that's the unique part of, I think we should all think of this throughout the community. How do we get projects done sooner rather than later? And as part of public-private partnerships. And I know, Councilmember Veen, you've always been a big proponent of these kinds of partnerships. And I think this is another great example from UND, along with Memorial Village, of how to move forward with projects with private partners, and how can local government do that. So I think when we look at other public entities, even to include the city of Grand Forks, how do we move forward with projects faster, and as opposed to lengthy, long timelines that we often look at with public projects?
Yeah, I mean, since these are so unique, maybe at the second reading, we can have a little presentation and look over them all, and we can go to a map and have some visuals. I think that'd be maybe a better way to do it, if that works for you, Mr. V.
Yeah, I think so, because it's going to change the view on University Avenue. I mean, it's going to be pretty significant. I mean, some of the other projects we did with even the new dorms or whatever on Columbia Road and all of that, and what's happening with the Nestor building and what's happening with the student union and some of the demolition. I mean, and I think significantly what we did with the street. Just University Avenue has really created a whole different environment out at the university, which is pretty positive.
Yep, streetscape was just the first step.
No, it's pretty exciting.
Mayor Bochensky, so I think as part of planning and development, I think what Ken's trying to say, Mayor, you're a proponent of, these are not simply planning and zoning projects, these are transformational type of projects that are going to require huge investments, or under a different model to move the projects forward. So I think we'll plan to have Mr. Peepers, who's the Associate VP of Facilities, who's really been the dynamic leader to make some of these happen. And of course, there was a previous president of UND that really got the momentum going on a lot of those. So we'll work with Mr. Brooks, and we'll set up presentations just so the community understands what's going to go on further with UND that's going to impact everyone positively.
Sounds good. Any other comments from council? All right, looking for a motion then on 4.23.
Move approval.
Mr. Veen moves for approval.
Second?
We'll give Council Vice President Mock a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. 4.23 carries unanimously. 4.24.
4.24 is the introduction of ordinance preliminary approval of an amendment to the zoning map to include UND Princeton P3 housing PUD unplatted parts, Grand Forks Township, 400 block of Princeton Street.
You want to have them talk about this one, or should we have them do let's do that. Okay. So let's, I guess I'd be looking for a motion on 4.24 then. Got a motion from Vice President Mock.
Second?
A second from Councilmember Weber. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4.24 carries unanimously. 4.25.
Introduction of ordinance preliminary approval of an amendment to the zoning map to include Chris's Rex PUD lots 2 and 3, block 11, University Place addition located at 3024 University Avenue.
All right, do we have a motion on 4.25? Got a motion from Ms. Mock to approve. A second. Second from Mr. Veen. Seeing no comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4.25 carries unanimously. And I believe that's it. Do you have us covered, Maureen, on action items?
Yep, you got it all.
Oh, do we need 4.26? Nope, yep, we did that with 4.22. Okay. Moving on to 5 informational items.
5.1 investment portfolio as of January 31st. And 5.2 statement of changes in cash position as of 12/31.
All right, thank you. 6 citizen comments. We'll open it up. Do we have any citizen comments, email or otherwise?
I have not received any, thanks.
All right, I think I recognize everybody here, so we will close citizen comments. So move on to 7, approval of minutes and bills.
7.1 is your vendor list as presented.
We have a motion to approve the vendor list. Mr. Kavami motions. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Dockler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Vendor list is approved. 7.2.
And 7.2 minutes from November 16th.
Got a motion to approve the minutes.
Move approval.
Motion from Mr. Veen.
Second.
Second from Ms. Mock. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 7.2 minutes are approved. 8, city administrator comments.
Mayor Buchansky and members of City Council, I got some positive updates here for you. Number one, Mayor, you mentioned our Grand Forks Days in Bismarck, and we, of all the meetings that we held, I think it was 6, probably the most engaging was the Department of Transportation. And as Mayor, you said, and others, who would ever thought that? So thanks to Director Panos. And I want to give you an update. We did brief all the projects that are really important to us, and as you recall, we are working on the 47th Avenue, the Demers Avenue 42nd underpass, and so we are working on some further engineering on that. We want to position that project so that if there are state and federal funds available, that we're ready to go on that. The second project was the 47th Avenue Interchange, and we did receive word, Mr. Grasser told us last week that the DOT said they're moving forward with that EIS, and that's the important part of moving that project forward, so they are going to move forward with that project. We have budgeted that as a $3 million project under a 50-50 cost share with the state of North Dakota. So the good news is that we've been given the word last week that they're moving forward. And so I think we have 2 projects. One more shovel riding the underpass, that whether it's with state funding or if there's an infrastructure package moving forward with the federal government, that we will be in place to move forward. And with the EIS, it's a 2-year process. So at the next session, or something else comes, obviously that's going to be a federal project, that we are moving forward on both those projects. And Mr. Vien and Ms. Mock, I know you're on the MPO, and I know there's work going on with the bridge, the intercity bridge, we'll say. So I think we're moving forward on all those and looking for state and federal partnerships on all those. Second, I sent out an email with the passage of the, and signing of with President Biden of the stimulus. We are anticipating receiving $11 million plus as part of that stimulus package. The county is prepared to receive about $13 million plus, and we know our schools are going to receive significant sums of money as part of that. The $11 million, as Marine Store said, is provided to me, is going to come in 2 tranches, so we anticipate half of it within the next 60 days, and then a year later we'll receive the other half of those funds. And so generally those categories of money can be spent for COVID-related activities, ongoing activities. They can be spent with economic recovery and development activities, and many of that will revolve around, moving forward from the pandemic, and then finally is infrastructure investments. So we will be reviewing what can be happening, and we'll be bringing those forward as part of the budget planning. And as you recall, we still have about 1.2 million plus that's still remaining from the previous bills that we received appropriations. So as we move forward, that kind of leads into the kicking off of when the mayor does the State of the City, really kicks off our budget process for 2022. And so the mayor is going to provide his thoughts and his visions for 22 and beyond. And so we are starting to budget for 22. And I would anticipate starting in June that we would be having budget sessions and updating the city council on where we're at with that. So exciting times. Number one, exciting times that we've ended 21. We're in 21 because we ended 20 really in a really good financial position. We're doing well now, and we're receiving additional stimulus funds. So it's a really great opportunity for not only the city of Grand Forks, but working with our local partners of how can we work together on game-changing projects that are one time that we can point back to, similar to what this city did after the flood of 1997. So that's where our mindset is, and I'm sure the mayor is going to provide us more words on that, but that's where our thoughts are right now on that. The other thing I wanted to let you know is, just so you're not surprised, is that we are working on master planning, and as was mentioned before, Mr. Schill does a great job for Praxis. We did the market study, and really one of the positive impacts of the market study, regional market capture study, is that we identified some gaps in our community, gaps and experiences that what we don't have in Grand Forks that other communities have, and we were underserved in many different areas. So we did do an initial briefing at the Alaris Center. There is some land the city owns south of the Alaris Center, so we're looking at how could that become, we'll call it an experience park, and fill some of those gaps. We are also looking, as the mayor and others want us to look at citywide development throughout the city. So we're looking at how we can fill these gaps that are needed in our community, that are other communities, so we can make ourselves a better quality of life and a more engaging community. And so that's coming forward. We think we're going to go through the Alaris Center Commission probably about a week or so from now, and then bring that to City Council in the first part of April, is to give you a big snapshot on what we're looking at. We're also looking at one of the first rung projects is a BMX track that would be one of the first projects we move forward with a license agreement. So we are going to share that with the Alaris Center Commission to make sure that, they're good with what we're proposing in that area. And then we'll be bringing that forward to the city council for further review and approval. And some of these are longer-term facilities, but just so you know, we're doing lots of master planning, not only at the Alaris Center, not only in downtown on University, but throughout the whole community, and more to come on that particular vein. The other thing you're going to see in April, May, is you recall you approved 4 development projects. We are working on development agreements, thank you to the city attorney's office, and so we're going to plan to bring those through for final approval, so we can talk about more of the specifics about what those development agreements work like. So we continue to work on those, that you will see those again in April, May, and it'll be part of more of a final development agreement with all 4 developers as we move forward. And lastly, I want to let you know that Lee Ray Amundsen is going to retire here in the first part of May, and she's worked for the city of Grand Forks for 32 years. And Lee Ray started as a utility billing clerk 32 years ago and rose to the Public Works Operations Director. So she's an all-American success story. And probably the first woman ever to lead Public Works Operations, and so I'm really proud of her. I worked with her for a lot of years, and so I want to give her a big shout out. So she'll be here for a month or so longer, but I think Mayor and City Council, it highlights all the people that are probably looking at retirement. So we're going to go through another wave of leadership retirements. And so it comes with some excitement, but a lot of trepidation, because for the most part, on any given Monday evening, we don't ask the city council to do a lot of challenging things from an operational perspective. And the reason why that doesn't occur is because we have really terrific leaders and managers and operators that handle things. And so most of the things that we get to deal with are project related and appointment related and those sorts of things. So it's because of people like Lee Ray. So I just want to give her a big shout out. There's going to be more really significant retirements to come, and that's what I have for you this evening. Lots of great stuff, Mayor, and lots of great opportunities. We just got to execute.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan, and congratulations to Lee Ray, I believe 30-year career. That's pretty impressive. All right, we will move on. City Council and Mayor comments. Mr. Weigel, any comments for tonight?
Just real quick, Mayor, just congratulations to Coach Bubba and the boys on their another win starting the season 4-0, and best of luck to Coach Barry and all those guys with the NCHC tournament that's going on. And thanks for all of you. I don't think a lot of times we often say this, but I think as a council we have a great team, and I think we work together to get a lot of things done. And when I look at other organizations, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way, but I'm glad that we work so well together, and I hope we can continue that into the future.
Thank you, Mr. Weigel. Ms. Dockler?
Not tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weber?
Yeah, very quickly, I believe she's left Chambers, but Anna Rosberg was a phenomenal success almost immediately when she arrived in town, and congratulations to her team for what they've done during such a trying year. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Mr. Kavami?
None tonight, thank you.
Mr. Veen?
Just to add on a little bit to what Mr. Phelan talked about with all the projects, we, of course, heard what was happening at UND, and we'll have a few more coming up, our presentation coming up again on that, and the TIF projects with the 4 development projects. And it probably won't be long before we start looking at what we want to do with water treatment plant site. I think that's going to be another opportunity that we could have going with us for too long, too. So just a shout out for that one, too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Veen. Ms. Mock? Or Vice President Mock, excuse me.
I was just going to see, Mr. Phelan, with some of that master planning, is there something we should do if we have ideas that we think should be added to that list, or if other people do, should we email you to add and collaborate on that?
Yeah, Mayor Buczynski and Vice President Mock, please do that.
Okay.
Right now, you'll see this in the presentation, and Ken, Mr. Vian saw that at the Alaris Center Committee, I'm thankful for the number one, that we had this study that showed what our gaps were. A big shout out to the Park District, who's really taken a lot of groups and combined them under one heading of, there was really a demand for an indoor turf facility. And so if you wanted turf in our community, from soccer to lacrosse to football to baseball, they've wrangled all those groups into one group, and they're really doing a needs assessment with them locally. But there's other things that are going on and Mayor Bochensky, you know this from working with this group, outdoor play areas to children's museum to learning centers. And what we didn't want to look at is just myopically look at the south of the Alaris Center site. That could be the only area. We want to look out throughout the entire community of where we can go. And so we get into more of the sense of, it's not if these are going to happen, it's where they're going to happen, when they're going to happen. But if you have other ideas that are coming, for example, I'll tell you an example. Mr. Schill, because he just happened to be working on this, he came up with, well, what about an aquatic center? He's got a group of, I think they call them the Wahoos in town. And so that was one need where there was concern about, will the Hislop pool be there long-term? Do we need to look at a need? So we've really wrapped in a lot of different groups and a lot of different activities. But if there is something, please share it with me. I am working with A2S is the prime consultant that I'm working with on the master plan. I'm working with Sean Gaddy and his team over there. And then we have two subs. We have Mark Schill from Praxis we've continued him as part of that experience. Also working with ICON as kind of the architectural rendering folks, and as part of the working with the city. And you'll see a presentation in early April on that as we move forward. But if you have some ideas, please let us know. We can incorporate them along the way, because we had a really good meeting with the Alaris Center Finance and Development Committee and got some ideas. So we're always in a refining mode.
And then with kind of a broader city perspective, are you identifying areas for potential redevelopment or repurposing of existing buildings? Is that maybe a separate entity that we're working on for the CARES Act funding?
Mayor Bochensky and Vice President Mock, I think the mayor will speak to this a little bit on Wednesday too, but we know there's areas in town that need redevelopment from, we'll note the Columbia Mall, Grand Cities Mall, so we're engaging those property owners too. And I think people's eyes were awakened when we did the Beacon project, where it had the three mixed-use 7-story buildings with the public event centerpiece. And so some of the developments as they move forward is, how can we drive a public investment as part of a mixed-use private development? And so that's why when we were looking at the south of Alaris, but perhaps as part of our redevelopment strategies, some of these other improvements would work in other areas. And I think it creates some competition among all the different sites of where can we drive the best investment for some of these facilities. And I think the city of Grand Forks is the best at being detached and objective on where these should go as we move forward, and we should just try to facilitate good things and not pick winners and losers. So hopefully we're doing that.
Is that all, Ms. Bach? All right, thank you. I'm gonna agree with what Mr. Weigel says. I think council, we have a great group with a lot of diversity of thought, and I think that's what makes them so strong. That's what kind of makes tonight and the last two meetings so disappointing. The fact that we would decide to table something so that we hope that the person quits or that the mayor changes his appointment is pretty sad. I don't think that's why any of us signed up to be here. I don't think that council needs more than a week, 2 weeks, a month to make a decision on a library board position. I mean, the stakes are so small compared to the life and death decisions we've made over the past 6 months. So I hope everyone will be able to think about that going forward. I know there's been some concerns about the process, and I guess I'll one more time recite what the process was. And I think we need to have a realization that there's a separation between the executive branch and the legislative branch that's been in city code for 100 years. We've had, our federal government has had that separation for almost 250 years. So has the state. That's going to continue. I think if council wants to have more power and sees more authority, I think they need to check with the citizens of the community first and foremost. The process was the same as it's been in the past. We had opened it up for 3 weeks. We received 7 applicants. We allowed those applicants, Ms. Wendt and the president of the library board, to review those, gave all 7 names there. I interviewed all 7 people, reviewed all their resumes, and made a decision. According to the city administrator, we have just a record number of applicants coming in for these positions, and a diverse group, exactly what we would want. So the process doesn't seem to be flawed. It seems to be the only issue that anyone has with the process is that it's the mayor's decision to appoint, and that's the separation of powers. So, I'm really befuddled. I think, quite frankly, if I was a person that was offended more easily, I might be offended. Fortunately, I'm not, but I think it's insulting. It's insulting to the mayor's office, and it's insulting to the person that's volunteering to run for one of these positions. Quite frankly, vote or don't vote, and we'll move on. That's how life works. That's why we signed up for these jobs. So as much as I can thank everyone for their work, tonight was a disappointing night. And we got a lot of positive things going on here, so I hope we can regroup and gain some momentum. So with that, thank you, everybody, and hope you have a good week. We'll need a motion to adjourn. Number 10, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Veen motions. Second from Ms. Mock. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.